computer is going APR. Gotta love it when networks go crazy on me, especially my own damn thing. Alright, time index 1:38 Pacific Standard Time, the PM. It is Sunday, the 23rd of April, 2023. Get in our flash drive. Alright, we got that one working. Roseman, California, from John C. Weaver. Diary of the Griever named John Weaver. To Jesse Dollar. We got to talk, dude. Talking to a libtard, a libtard, here in the asinine county of Kern, which is in, well, bordering Antelope Valley and in the Central Valley of California, which is, unfortunately, I'm not going to mention the official title. I'm just going to call him by his name, McCarthy. McCurdles. McAsshole. Okay, that's schmuck. Yeah, he's our rep. Unfortunately, the rest of the people out here are just as screwed up as he is. Responding to the Texas to force the Christian Bible in every public school classroom article you just posted today. Wowzers. There's too much I say usually on my own damn channel concerning about my own emotional stability, but also I did do politics as well. However, it's not exactly all that labeled very well in that one. But I digress. Yeah, you gotta love that slick advertising there. The problem is, what I have here is not with your article itself. This is going to be challenged in the Supreme Court. It has to be. We're talking about it going against the First Amendment like crazy on this one. If Texas thinks they're going to be thinking they're going to be the only state out there or trying to be one of the lead states out there that goes against the U.S. Constitution, then we really got a problem in this country, don't we? The First Amendment was created in the Bill of Rights to keep church and state separated. Jesse, what you keep failing to tell the public at this point over here is regarding history. You're screaming and yelling about the situation and possible consequences. You don't even give them the examples. Why? I'm a 57-year-old farts going through community college right now, trying to finish up the last semester or two before I get my coveted AA. Not bad for an old fart. Been there several years already. Had a ball in community college. Wish I was like that as a young student coming out of high school, but I wasn't. I didn't have context, perspective, or maturity to really understand college, even at the community college level. But even in those places coming out, they would have been teaching the youth, even back in the 80s out here in Southern California, and probably everywhere else, about U.S. Politics 101. Or Political Science 101, however they would label it. And they would be teaching the ins and outs. And not to mention, U.S. history should have been teaching it ins and outs in school if we actually paid attention to it. Now, yes, I lived in a liberal town of Los Angeles, city of Los Angeles, or county of Los Angeles. I think should call the San Fernando Valley their own little city, but they tried to do that back in the 90s and failed at it. So I was screwed up. It would have been nice to have the city of Los Angeles kicked out in the city of San Fernando Valley, but no, we didn't have the votes for that, so we got that one screwed up. But I digress. I give you the location this way because just to let you know with the mindset and the town I lived in and where I got my education from. LA Unified may not have been the greatest, but it was still public school education. We called them jail cells in certain few schools out there because they had to be walled up with iron bars because we actually had gang members left and right back in the 70s and 80s. Fun times. Real fun times. Graduate from John F. Kennedy back in 85. Go Cougars. But I wish I took school seriously enough during those days, and I didn't. Long stories, talk about them all the time on my channel. You're wanting the topic at this point over here. I'm giving you background. And it's the thing you still need is background. Understand, in order to do this one properly, you got to give the people background information. Why it's so bad? They would give you a little bit of historical background. Why did we have this issue here, Jesse? Surely you, among all the other libtards, or libturds, or liberal minded of the quote unquote unseen, unfelt, and unknowing woke situation, would understand the reason why we don't like state sponsored religion. Must I dig up the ghost of King George III to relay it to you and to understand what was going on in England at the time? Must I educate you and the public at this point over here that in England we had a king who wanted his own religion? Say hello to Protestant. Kick out Catholicism. You must be Protestant. You must be the Church of England. Otherwise, you are in contempt of the king and everything else going on during that time. But that was just one of the things we were having issues with. The reasons why we started the colonies is have our own places of worship and stuff. But when we have dear old King George the Third trying to screw us over one way or another, no wonder we are calling this one ape on this one. And when creating the Bill of Rights, we had to make sure that the top dog, the top monkey on this one, was the freedom of speech so we can express ourselves, even to the federal government, saying, you ain't got any right to put me in jail because I'm expressing myself, and to have a separation of church and state. We cannot have an official religion here. We're supposed to be a pluralistic society, a pluralistic country, theoretically. That's supposed to be accepting of all religions. Oh my God, did I say that? Accepting of all religions? That means if you wanted to worship Hinduism or if you wanted to worship something else, you are free to do so without forcing it down someone else's throat. If you're a federal or state government, you're not allowed to do that because of the Constitution. Private individuals, well, that's a different story altogether. They talk about conversion left and right. But to think that a federal government body can actually force this down people's throat. Meaning if I was of a different religious sect or of a faith, and I go trouncing into another person's backyard of faith, and I say to them, okay, shall we get Yul Brynner or shall we get Charlton Heston here? You cannot, because I am Pharaoh, I am Egypt, and I command you to worship this way. If you cannot worship this way, there will be consequences. So let it be written. So let it be done. Meaning, if I was a Christian, I'm going into a mosque at this point over here. And if I happen to say it to them, your religion is outlawed, outdated, and gone, because I, of the Christian faith, demand it. What kind of backlash we're going to get on that damn shit? So much bad enough if I happen to go into a Jewish synagogue without a yarmulke, without a hat, without anything to respect the other guy's belief, faith. And I'm telling them, you guys cannot celebrate this. You guys will not worship this. You only worship only Christianity because we say so. Look what happened to Christ. Christ is Christian. And therefore, he is one of us. And therefore, I'll say to you, you do this or else. Without the dramatics at this point over here. You know, when I want to wear it like a left, right, and a whirlwind. But we are dealing with the after effects in this one. And historical context in this one here, Jess. What was Christ before all of it? He was born Jewish. King of the Jews. They called him. He was Jewish. Joseph and Mary were of Judea, of Bethlehem, Judea. They were of the Jewish faith, as were most of the people out there, except for different cultures out there in the Middle East, celebrating their own beliefs. But the start of Christianity was from a Jew. Well, we Christians keep forgetting all the frickin' time. Oh, we celebrate the damn thing during Easter and during Christmas more, because we also have Hanukkah during that time. And around Easter, we have Passover. What happened in England? What happened in Egypt? What happened in Egypt? I mean, we do have we do have the stories in the Bible, in the Old Testament, telling us about the stories of this stuff. I have a Western Civ professor at my community college who looks at the Bible for historical information, not hysterical, as in, oh my God, no, historical as in trying to back up facts, what he knows, what he doesn't understand. He's not preaching the faith, he's history. He is of history. It's one thing if we're going to be teaching the book as a historical document, because possibly we may or may not have any or enough information about what happened back in those days. To that extent, that would have been something to be debated about and to be discussed, maybe in colleges. But to put it in public schools? Because now we're talking about people would look at the Bible as in the ultimate faith. And it has to be shared with everybody. Because according to what their mindset is, it has to be shared with everybody. Jesse, I have been studying literature of different sorts left and right. But also if you apply it towards historical context and political context, it's no wonder I can't even get 2 more majors out of the community college, because I'd love to do history and political science on this damn thing besides English. I would make it a hell of a paper on this one here. But suffice it to say, for people to watch this video, as I'm going to be posting it on your site there. Give me 1 second. Your number 714-576-4054. I'm out of my mind, but I'm doing this anyway. What the hell? Speaker on this one.
You have reached the voicemail line of the Dollemore Daily. By leaving a voicemail, you consent to having your voice used on the air.
Jesse, this is John Weaver, Diary of the Graver named John Weaver, out in Rosamond, California, which is McCarthy's ugly territory that he so calls represents, responding to your article regarding Texas to force the Christian Bible in every public school classroom. Look for my video, because I'm trying to tape it right now, even as I do this voicemail to you. I'm recording it on my own, so look for it in your links, pal. Look for it in your links, and I will talk at you. There you go, Jess. Satisfied? Okay. Back to what we're talking about here. It's context that you have to give people at this point over here. I know you probably have a short time of editing of how much you want to put into there, but you still got to give a little bit of context in there. Especially if you're going to be doing something controversial concerning about the idiots in Texas right now, the conservative idiots who want to force religion down people's throat. And they know it, but they can't do anything about it. Or can they? Because of the conservative leaning that we have in the SCOTUS right now, because we have that, there may be an opportunity of making a hell of a precedent here that's going to be affecting us for centuries. I didn't say decades, I said centuries at this point over here. Because unless we have a balance going on, SCOTUS, and they understand about the federal government versus states' rights on this one, or about the elitism of a small group versus the majority. And this is what we're dealing with. We're dealing with elitism. We're dealing with the minority versus the majority at this point. This is not how democracy works. We give the minority enough time, enough energy for them to voice their opinions to the majority in order to sway things. But if they're going to be running things left and right, then we don't have a democracy. We have a screwed up government. And maybe they are right. We do have corporate media. We do have corporate media running things left and right. Corporate filled like crazy. But I'm going to get back to the constitutional situation here. Now, me, I've been watching politics all my life. I had seen conservatism grow up, or actually mutate into something else over the past 30 years. Yeah, I remember the Tea Party, what happened back in, what was it, 1990s, late 90s into the 2000s, into the start of the terrorist era that we had. Might as well call it that. Might as well call it the terrorist era because we had terrorism happening. We still have terrorism happening. We also had minor terrorism happening prior to that. LA was having terrorism on a constant basis back in the 70s and 80s with the gang warfares. Oh, you missed those days, Jess. You missed those days. Mayor Tom Bradley versus Chief Daryl Gates on how to handle the city of Los Angeles. Gates was trying to do the iron hand approach. Mayor Bradley was trying to do the soft hand at this point over here. Who won? LA's still alive and still screwed up. Both LA city and county. But we're not in ashes yet, are we? Democracy prevails. I just wish we could do this for Texas. Texas has always been an independent state minded. We even had Mayor Richardson, I think, governor back in the 90s, late 80s, early 90s. For several years, we had a democratic state of Texas. No conservative, and we didn't have that much issues with them. And now we got the conservative left and right. We need gun-toting people left and right to shoot people. Blood count's not enough. We need more body bags filled. We need more crying and more stuff happening. All in the name of religion, I guess. All in the name of Christianity nationwide or something like that. They've gotten out of their mind. But yes, you were correct concerning about it being flagrantly unconstitutional in Texas. I was reading your little jab here you put in your notes regarding it. And yes, they are unconstitutional because they're telling us that Texas will be an independent state and will not be supporting the U.S. Constitution, despite the fact that they've tried many times to separate. They cannot get out of it. And the thing is, we don't have mechanisms built into the Constitution to do this. Even after the Civil War happened, we still don't have the mechanisms in our government system to eject or to have a state elect itself out. We need amendments for that. And you know the political process. If you've been studying Political Science 101, you know how bad it is. It took us a long time to get what our current amendments are, the last 3 or 4 of them. How many years and how much strife on those damn things? So yes, we have an unconstitutional bill as we're trying to go through the State House of Texas, and Greg Abbott will sign it. And it'll get tossed out by the first federal lawsuit against him. If I know the ACLU, they'll go after him. And they'll put it as a federal, not as a state. Because now we're dealing with a federal lawsuit of freedom of speech and separation of powers, and not to mention of religion, against the wishes of Texas. Give them time on that one. But the bill is not constitutional, as we both know it. Forcing a person to experience a religion is not going to happen. We'll have federal lawsuits on this one because it's a violation of civil rights. You wait for it. As soon as Abbott signs the damn thing into law, we're going to have a federal lawsuit. That's going to be hitting the corporate media at this point. It's got to be hitting the corporate media at this point. It's got to be hitting the other media groups on social media for this one, including on YouTube. I got to see this damn thing happen this way. I got to see this happen because I'm a First Amendment. I don't know what the hell I call them these days. I don't give a shit. I'm not a gun nut. I believe in the separation of church powers and state. I also believe in the freedom of speech. But there's also limitations concerning about freedom of speech. We both know that too. Meaning, let's see, the old adage of saying fire in a movie theater. I can say fire in a movie theater because if I happen to see fire in the movie theater, then I can sing it. But not yelling it out loud saying, there's fire in the movie theater, when there's nothing in there, and that's against the law. That's against state, federal, and local. They got them out there for that one. So there are limitations. One more thing. Skokie, Illinois, back in the 70s. Now, come on. Are you that young that you would never remember this particular case? Look it up on the Google at this point over here. Skokie, Illinois, American Nazi Party versus the town. Look at it, understand it, apply it. That's what I do. I like watching your shows. You really go all out emotionally on these things. And you want to make the point across to these idiots out there of what the hell's going on these days. Believe me, they have no clue what the hell's going on. The conservatives want every damn attention they can get. My mother had a saying, and so did my grandmother a long time ago. If you can't get positive attention, you got to get negative attention. Even applies to pets. Yeah, it does. If your dog will not get enough positive attention out of you, they'll get negative attention. They'll get the yelling, because that's the only attention they know of. And so will kids. And so will adults. Keep that one in mind. Okay, I'll talk at you later. I think I'll probably send this copy over to the other groups like the Young Turk and Rebel HQ. Oh yeah, the David Pakman show. I'll watch them. I also watch the regular news. I want to get a balance going on. Now, I know, in order to get a true balance at this point, Jess, I would have to stomach watching Fox News. And I try. In order to keep an open mind, I got to see what the other schmucks are doing at this point over here. I got to understand where they're coming from. And after what I've been watching these days, let me rant a little further, okay? Forgive me for ranting on this one here. This is going to drive you nuts. Get an intern to watch this damn stuff. Write some notes down. I used to watch conservative stuff a long time ago, back in the 70s and 80s, growing up as a kid. That stuff I could deal with. Today, Okay, enough said on this one. I'll talk to you later, Jess.